The response to "Should I marry a murderer" is disappointing. Fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. Most women have to fawn to survive. And it works. I felt so bad for her. The cops/prosecutor were still jerks in the documentary. They don't get it. Her life was in the line, and she had to make a choice in how to survive with no help from them. I agree. We can only say, "I would have done this, I wouldn't have done that," because we are outsiders. I couldn't believe when the police knocked at her door in the middle of the night, barged in, and said out loud, "You're our main witness." That alone could have put her in danger. The fiancé's brother was starting to suspect her. I think it's highlighted a lot of people don't understand what a mental health crisis looks like. People seem to lack empathy. Realistically, a lot of crimes don't get reported on, and I believe a lot of people would have just walked away. She did a brave thing reporting it to the police. A little ironic that they may not have convicted them if she had disappeared and not stayed in the relationship and got that recording of him where coldly talks about how he, the victim, shouldn't have been in the road that night among other confessions. I agree with your post 100%. I was appalled by a lot of the comments. The bottom line, without her that man would have never been found, and the family got answers. Until you walk in someone's shoes, don't judge. I agree with you. Honestly, I think she explained her headspace at the time well, and why she did what she did. That stupid police officer who said that if he were her, he would have run far away. What about her parents? They should run too? Are they moving? And also, she's the main witness. Is she allowed to leave? Like what? The police did her so dirty. People want the perfect victim, and that's why so. Many don't come forward when something bad happens to them. I also think a lot of folks glaze over two things. One, previous to this, an 8-year relationship ended. She was already destabilized. Then she meets this guy, recovers, falls in love, and finds out this horrible thing. She's probably so upset at herself, which makes her lose trust in herself. 2, then everything happens, and at the peak of her mania, while she's looking for this bike at the waterfall, and she says something along the lines of, "I need to find this bike to prove it wasn't just what I say." Okay, so the first thing is, yes, she was a victim of success. Being a doctor and all that, she was evidently seen as more than capable of handling her shit, which is awful. We can all be vulnerable. What I didn't love was the documentary itself. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy it was just one victim. However, when the first episode was ending, the comment about how it would get much darker kept messing with expectations. I figured they were serial killers or something, and maybe they go look. While I do agree with a lot of your comments, I do think there were massive signs of desperation and codependency, but I know that internally she was spiraling. It was complex, but she did the right thing, period, no matter how much she goes back and forth about it. I also think that we as a society have to be more sensitive and mindful because we are haphazardly diagnosing ourselves and others on a consistent basis because of therapy talk. So much focus on her and her poor decisions. Hardly any talk of what the brothers did. Disappointed face. A lot of people who say, "I'd never do that," would actually do that placed in her scenario. It's kind of funny. We put ourselves on pedestals while we watch these kind of shows. How do you know you wouldn't do that? You don't. People in the Stanford prison experiment were judged too, when a lot of people would have shocked them too. We like to think we wouldn't. The fact that the police made her feel utterly alone while revealing her as the source and add in some drugs, it's not surprising I just thought it was way too long. I didn't need 3 episodes of her droning on and on trying to justify every little thing she did. I get it. People do stupid things that they know are bad for them when in love, like she said. Ultimately, she did the right thing, and deserves credit for that. But the story, and her, simply was not interesting enough to warrant 3 episodes. I don't need to hear the same thing over and over, phrased in 10 different ways, from her. I kept thinking there must be a twee. Thank you for saying what I've been thinking. I have so much sympathy for her and gratitude for her actions. I hope she reads posts like these more than the overly judgmental people who have no idea how to be in someone else's shoes. Pissed me off. I agree to an extent with your post. She absolutely was the catalyst in their conviction and obviously finding Tony's body and allowing his family so closure after so long. She was one of few people, it was a pretty much known and accepted in the community that the twins did it, that had the moral compass to go to the police. She placed the marker in that massive estate where Tony would not have been found if she hadn't. However, you cannot downplay her actions and irresponsibility in the act. Plenty of people out there who do terrible things for love and infatuation, no matter how intelligent they are or how much they have to lose. Remember that astronaut who drove hundreds of miles in a diaper to get back at a romantic rival? You have to remember Caroline was only in her 20s and had been recently heartbroken. She was enamored with Sandy. She clearly explained why she stayed and how she medicated herself with alcohol and drugs because she knew deep down what an awful situation it was. A truly insane and unique situation to be in. I don't understand the hate she is getting. So easy to say, I wouldn't go there, but if she hadn't, he would have known immediately it was her. The police response to her was wholly inadequate. I'm stunned most of the complaints weren't upheld. She was let down by them, and it cost them the conviction they should have got. I saw something today which said when something happens to us, we allow the situation nuance, but when it happens to someone else, we simply label. Absolutely. I sought out Reddit threads to see if other folks felt how I felt about the head of police, only to be confronted with people tearing Caroline down as if she murdered Mr. Parsons herself. I don't think people watched the same doc we did. It would have been one thing if Caroline felt justified in her decisions, but she was very open about her shame and regrets over how she responded. The last thing Caroline needs is more shame. Can't we have a balance? On the one hand, it was incredibly brave of her to go to the police, mark the burial site, and record their conversations as evidence. On the other hand, it's almost inexplicable how she could continue her relationship with this guy knowing what he did, other than she was on a drug bender and in the midst of a mental health crisis, which likely resulted in a lower sentence for those two than they maybe deserved. First thing they teach you in AA or NA is that you're respo. 100% agree. I know a lot of people with doctorates. The fact that a couple might be insane is not exactly a surprise. Agreed. I hated the response, and everyone keeps forgetting that there wouldn't even been a case without her. Her recordings made the case. Just the fact that she went to the police is a huge deal, and more than what most would do. People rarely report spouses and close relatives of crimes that have been confessed to them. She gave that family closure. They don't have to wonder what happened to their loved one anymore. I would rather be like her than a judgy commenting coward. I think TBH both can be true, but for some reason people have created a binary when responding to the doc. I would also add that I feel she was let down by her parents. Although they allowed her to stay, it did feel like they were very stand back and see what happens throughout the ordeal. It's true to say she was let down by everyone while at the same time criticize her for a lot of very poor choices she made. I think the real question that's hard to answer purely from the doc is, was this